Hare Krishna. So, welcome everyone to our today's session. So, we'll begin with our prayers. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. So welcome everyone. So today we'll be discussing another very important character from Mahabharat, that is Kunti Maharani. Kunti Maharani, she is a sterling example of motherhood and devotion to the Supreme Lord. So, in our today's discussion, we'll be seeing the life of Kunti Maharani, what all she went through, and what was her consciousness as she went through all these calamities and troubles in her life. So, Kunti, she was born as Pritha from Shurasena. So, Shurasena, he was the father of Vasudev. So Vasudev and Kunti, they were brother sisters, and also Kunti, she was, because Krishna is the son of Vasudev, so Kunti is also aunt of Krishna. Surasena, he had a friend called Kunti Bhoja, and although he was a very pious king, but he was childless. So Sursena, he felt compassion seeing the condition of Kunti Bhoj, and he gave his own daughter Pritha to Kunti Bhoj. And that's how Pritha became known as Kunti. So Kunti Bhoj was also a very virtuous, glorious, pious king who was always ready to welcome the guests. One day, Durvasa Muni came and Kunti Bhoj, because Durvasa Muni was known as famous as a person who could be pleased very easily, and also who could become angry very easily. Durvasa Muni is the incarnation of Lord Shiva, and many times it was very difficult to serve him. So Kunti Bhoj, he knew the nature of Durvasa Muni, and he also knew the wonderful serving nature of Kunti. So he appointed small girl Kunti. That time Kunti was very small child, you know, and he appointed Kunti to serve Durvasa. Kunti, she was very well aware of the various habits of Durvasa Muni because she had heard about him, but she tolerated all the demands of Durvasa Muni, and she served Durvasa Muni so very nicely that he became very pleased with her. And after spending some time in the palace of Kunti Bhoj, this Durvasa Muni, he was departing, and as he was departing, you know, he gave a benediction to Kunti, being pleased with her wonderful service. He told Kunti, "Oh small child, oh child, because you have served me so very nicely, I am very pleased with you. I will give you a mantra from Atharva Veda, and by this mantra, you can call any of the devatas and beget progeny from him." In those times, for a you know uh, anybody to get such type of benediction, it was unimaginable, especially for a small child. A small girl like Kunti, she was maybe in her early teens, or after 10, 12 years. So for women, it is a cherished desire to get a glorious husband and nice progeny. So Kunti, she was very happy to get that desire. She was a small girl at that time. Durvasa Muni departed. Then Kunti, she was resting in her inner chambers, and in her teenage curiosity, she looked outside and she saw the sun very effulgent, glowing, and she thought maybe I should test this mantra. In her curiosity, she wanted to test, and she started chanting mantras to call Surya Dev, Surya Narayan. And as she chanted those mantras, lo and behold, Sun God himself appeared in front of Kunti. She was amazed. She was shocked. She offered respects to Sun God and she said, "Oh Supreme Lord, oh Surya Dev, I'm so very grateful that you came here. Thank you very much for giving me your audience. Now you please go back." So this is a very, very important thing we have to understand here. Durvasa, although he gave such a powerful mantra, but we should be aware of whom to give what powers. Because with powers come responsibility. And if the person does not know how to use that power, then he will put himself into trouble and he'll put others into trouble. And therefore, as we can see, as we'll see what happens, because even in the spiritual circle, as we are practicing our Krishna consciousness spiritual life, in due course of time, because of our wonderful nature, service attitude, we may get lots of respect, recognition, position in the society of devotees, where we'll be very well known as a very wonderful devotee. So with all this, we should be very, very careful, because with all these powers will come, the respect will come, we'll get position. If we don't know how to use the powers in right way, we'll harm ourselves and will harm others also. How we will harm ourselves? In the spiritual circle, one of the primary quality of a devotee is he should be humble. Humility is the crux of spiritual life. That's why it is said, Vidya Vinayena Shobhate. A person who has knowledge, naturally he should become humble. And what to speak of if he gets a knowledge of spiritual life, knowledge of Krishna consciousness. If we are not careful, then we'll harm ourselves by becoming proud, and will harm others by putting others down, minimizing others' position, criticizing others' contributions. You know. So therefore, we have to be really careful that in the spiritual life, being humble, being grounded is utmost important thing. So Surya Dev, when he heard this statement from Kunti, he smiled. He said, darshan of the Devatas is itself very, very rare. And after getting darshan of a Devata, how can one go without getting any blessing? Because this mantra gives benediction of a child, I have to give you a child. Kunti, when she heard this, she was horrified. She completely was horrified to hear this from Surya Dev. She pleaded with him. She said, I am a small girl, I am unmarried, I lose my virginity if you give me a child. And how will I take care of the child? Because I am not married. Suryadev, he said, the mantra has to give result. And I am gracefully offering you this result. And I don't, if I don't give you this benediction, what will happen? The position, the power of the mantra, the potency of the mantra will be disgraced. And on top of that, you know what other devatas will say? They will laugh at me. They will say, oh, just see, he is rebuffed by a earthly girl. I cannot allow this to happen. I have to give you a child. For Kunti, it was like a blessing turning into a nightmare. She pleaded, you know, please, I don't want this child. I'll be disgraced in the family. My entire family will be disgraced. So you have to understand here, Bhagavad Gita repeatedly warns how we have to be very much careful when we explore the things in this world. What happened to Kunti? She saw sun, she got interested, she got curious. I should find out how this mantra works. So Krishna, he tells Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, Yada samharte chayam kurmongani va sarvashah indriyanindriyarthebhyas tasya pragya pratishtita. As we are in this path of spirituality, we have to be very careful because we'll see so many temptations in the world, which will attract our mind. We cannot trust our senses as harmless because our senses, they are like our weaknesses, you know and we have to guard our weaknesses. What we are putting in our senses, they determine our thought process. What we see, we think according to that. What we hear, what we read, whom we associate with, all these things, they make a script in our mind. We have to be really careful what we are putting in our mind through our senses. Otherwise, it is so very easy to get tempted. you know. And the whole advertising industry is doing the same thing, just fueling our desires. More and more desires. You pass by the road and you see so many billboards, one after another, fueling the desires. So as Kunti, she got tempted by seeing the sun, and ultimately she landed up in big trouble. In our spiritual life, we have to be really careful what we are seeing, what we are hearing, because if we just explore things in the world without any restriction, thinking that, oh, I have spent my so many years of spiritual life, Krishna consciousness, and I don't think all these things will trouble me. We should never ever, you know, underestimate our mind and senses. Mind and senses can distract even a person of a steady intelligence. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, you know, Vipaschitaha. Vipaschitaha means even an intelligent person can get distracted. So we have to be really careful how we are moving in the world, not to explore the sense objects, but to be really careful to do the needful and then come back. Just like a tortoise. Tortoise, when he's faced with danger, he withdraws all its limbs. Similarly, when we are in the world with people who are not spiritually inclined, because we cannot avoid them altogether, we have to be with people who are not spiritually interested. That time, we have to do just the needful and don't get too much into the details of the worldly things. So when Kunti, she pleaded, Suryadev, he said, don't worry about your virginity. You won't lose your virginity. So Kunti, when she saw the insistent nature of Surya, she relented. And, you know, Surya Dev, he gave her a child. The union of devatas, is not like ordinary, material, earthly personalities. Immediately, a child was born, and he was effulgent, looking very powerful, glorious child. He had a armor and he had a earring. When Kunti he saw this child, when she saw this child, she felt such intense affection for the child, but she felt so very sad because she knew that she would not be able to keep that child. It would bring disgrace to the entire royal family. What will people say about her? What will people say about her family? So, under those circumstances, she could not keep the child. She prayed to sun god, Surya Dev, and because she could not tell this to anybody, she decided to just, send the child away in river. She arranged for a beautifully decorated box, covered it with nice cloth, put the child carefully in that box, and then, drifted that box in the river. She prayed to Surya, he's your child, please protect him. She prayed to Vayudev that please, because you are the conveyor, please guide this box to a right couple. She prayed to the river so that the child can remain safe. With a heavy heart, with tears flowing through her eyes, she returned to the palace. She could not tell this to anybody. All the while she would think of the child, about the, well wish. She would always think, wish well for the child, pray to the Lord, pray to Surya, but she didn't know what happened to the child. In due course of time, Kunti she grew up, and Bhishma he arranged for Kunti to get married to Pandu. And then also Pandu was married to Madri, because Bhishma he thought, just like Vichitraveera and Chitrangada, both of them died without any child, so I don't want to take any risk. So let Pandu marry two wives. So Pandu was married to Madri also. And Kunti, she was a senior queen, she was elder, and Madri, she respected, Madri. Kunti respected Madri, and Madri also knew that, Kunti is a very, very learned personality. Both of them served Pandu very nicely, and then we have discussed this about Pandu, that ultimately he developed a desire to renounce this kingdom and he wanted to live a life of an ascetic. Both Kunti and Madri they went with Pandu to live in the forest, and ultimately we heard how Pandu was cursed by the sage Kindama, that anytime you unite with your wife you will die. So Kunti and Madri, both of them, they knew the curse of Pandu. So they would serve Pandu very diligently, not to agitate him with lusty desires. They would not dress opulently, they would not dress beautifully, they would not decorate themselves, so that Pandu don't get agitated. Pandu, he was thinking, now how will I beget child? How will the kingdom get a successor? Because he was the king, and every king has the responsibility to give a child a successor. He was thinking. So he thought, because now I cannot procreate, so I think some of the great sages they should come and procreate in Kunti and Madri. So Pandu he came and revealed his mind to Kunti. Kunti, for her, it was unacceptable. She said, I cannot do this. You know, I cannot. be with any other man apart from you. Pandu, he said, actually, this is a principle of religion. You are not doing it for your personal sake. This is a Raj Dharma. A king has to give a successor to the kingdom. So please agree with this proposal. When Kunti, she saw that Pandu is really insisting, that time she revealed the benediction she had got from Durvasa. She told about the benediction. Pandu, when he heard this, he became so very happy, so very joyful. And then he said, oh, what can be a greater benediction than to get progeny from the Devatas? And then they started planning whom to call. So Pandu thought, the king should be dharmic, religious. Because if the king is religious, then the entire kingdom will flourish. So they decided to call Dharmaraj or Yamraj. Because Yamraj, Dharmaraj, he is the knower of religion perfectly. And then Yamraj came and he gave the child. And the child who was born was named as Yudhishthir. Yudhishthira means one who is steady even in the midst of battle. Yudhi Sthir. And Pandu was so very happy. There was great celebration in the Pandu family. There was a great celebration among the sages also, because they understood that he is a glorious son. Just by looking at Yudhishthir, the sages could understand that this was the plan of the Lord, because Devatas, they are taking birth to annihilate the miscreants. Everybody was happy. Then Pandu, he thought, okay, king should be dharmic, but unless he has power, he has no position. He will not be able to maintain the position of a king. So he requested, started thinking whom to call. Then he thought, among all the devatas, Vayu, the wind god, is the most powerful. Everything in this world is moving by the power of Vayudev. So they decided to call Vayudev. So Pandu and Kunti, they performed austerities and did lots of tapasya, vows, and Kunti chanted the mantra. So they did all this to purify the body, because the purification of the body and the consciousness is very, very important to get a right type of child. So Kunti, she performed a great tapasya, purified her mind, purified her body, and chanted those mantras. Vayudev came and gave the child. The child was born. He was very, very powerful, and he was named as Bhima. Bhima means a fierce fighter, a very, very powerful fighter. After some time, Pandu thought again. He thought, okay, dharma is important, power is important, but along with dharma and power, heroism is also required. Because if heroism is present, then the king can spread his kingdom. King can establish the principles of religion with all strength and with lots of conviction. Then they thought, Kunti and Pandu thought that among all the devatas, Indra is the most heroic, and he is the greatest of the devatas also. He is the king of all the devatas. So Queen Kunti and Pandu again they did tapasya and pleased Indra. Indra came and he gave another child, and he was named as Arjun. Arjun means one who is straight and pure. In our spiritual life, we have to have the quality of being pure and being straightforward. We should not be duplicitous, in our behavior with other devotees. Straightforward dealings are very much appreciated. But straightforwardness does not mean that you become insensitive. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, what is the quality of speech? The quality of speech is the speech should be truthful, satyam, and priyahitam. Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat. It should not agitate others and it should be spoken in a pleasant way. So, truth should be spoken in a pleasant way. And therefore, we should be straightforward in our dealings. We should be simple. Many times, in due course of our activities, it is so very uh, natural to behave in a diplomatic way. But diplomacy is sometimes required, but it should not become our nature. Straightforward, simple dealings are very essential to advance in spiritual life. And that's what Krishna likes. Anybody who is simple, he becomes naturally dear to other devotees. He naturally becomes dear to Krishna. So Arjuna, he is, the meaning is straightforward and pure. When Arjuna was born, there were predictions about him. How great, how powerful he'll be, how glorious he'll be. So as Pandu was living in the forest with now three sons, he was so very happy. Madri came and she also expressed her desire. She said, you know, I was born and brought up in a royal family and I wanted to become the queen, prime queen, but somehow Kunti, because she is more qualified and she is elder, I don't mind. But every woman desires to have a child. So I also want a child. Please do something. Can you tell Kunti to give that mantra? So Pandu, he said, yes, I was also thinking the same. I will talk to Kunti. So Pandu, when he went to Kunti and told the situation, Kunti very happily she agreed and she gave that mantra. And Madri, she was thinking that I don't know whether Kunti will give this mantra second time. So she was thinking whom to call. So she called Ashwini Kumaras, the two devatas, and these two devatas they gave Nakul and Sahadev. Nakula means one who is having very high birth, and Sahadeva means one who is as glorious as devatas. So Pandu, after he had five sons now, he again approached Kunti and he said, uh, actually, I think you should call devatas again and beget more children. Kunti, she now refused. She said, in the time of emergency, a woman can beget children from other sages or some personalities, but now there is no emergency. In any circumstance, women should not know more than three men. So I cannot do this. And she spoke with such conviction. He quoted so many scriptures that Pandu was convinced. So in the today's age, people they say, oh, in the earlier times, women were not given education. Only men were sent. Only boys were sent to Gurukul. But that was not the case. Women were equally educated. Even without going to Gurukul, they were equally educated. And as we can see in the life of so many of the great ladies of the history, Mother Sita, Mandodari, and now we are hearing about Kunti, and we'll hear about Draupadi. They were very, very learned personalities, very well versed in the scriptures. So therefore, Vedic civilization does not, bar women from giving education. They are also equally educated. They were equally having all the rights, you know. So Pandu, when he heard such a wonderful speech from Kunti, he agreed. Okay. And one more thing Kunti said, she said, I gave mantra once to Madri and she called two devtas and she got two children. And I don't know what will happen if I give her mantra again. So I can't bear Madri having more children than me. This is actually, this type of competition is, although it is there in this world and natural many times, but one should not think that how can Kunti, she is such a great devotee, exhibit such symptoms of competition, envy. We have to understand that, even if some great personality is exhibiting some apparent faults, one should not focus on those faults, because by the power of Krishna consciousness, by the power of spiritual life, all those faults will be purified very quickly, you know. And that's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Apichet suduracharo bhajate ma mananya bhak sadhur eva samantavya samyak vyavasito hisah. So Krishna is telling to Arjuna, oh Arjun, anybody who comes to me, anybody starts practicing spiritual life, Krishna consciousness, rendering service unto me, even if he may have some apparent faults, don't focus on those faults. Because by the power of devotion, just like the fire purifies the gold completely of all the impurities, the fire of devotion purifies the personality very quickly. The foundation of envy in this world is because the foundation is that everything is limited in this world. So people think if my friend gets this, then I won't get it. Everything is limited, the resources are limited, there can be only one personality who can be on the top, one personality who can become the greatest. That creates envy in this world. But the scriptures, they describe that in spiritual life, in spiritual world, there is no envy, because spiritual world is unlimited. Krishna can empower every personality to become the greatest. That is spiritual life. And that brings the harmony in the world. When we focus, when we keep Krishna in the center, we all come to serve Krishna. We don't envy others. We help others to do better. Because our ultimate goal is to ultimately please God, please Krishna. And that makes even this world spiritual world, where there is no enmity, no envy, and we have to work on it. You know, in the spiritual world, competition is to push others so that they get more than us. Although these are very, very high standards, but this is what we have to aspire for. Because if we don't work on it, these feelings of non-enviousness, and praising others, pushing others to go ahead, that will not come automatically. We have to consciously cultivate those qualities, and that makes a society a very peaceful, God centered society. because that's what Krishna likes. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also. You know, Suridam Sarva Bhutanam. Krishna himself is the greatest well-wisher of everybody, and he wants his devotees to become the greatest well-wishers of others also. Sarva Bhuta Hite Ratah. So therefore, we should never ever demean the position of great devotees. And even in the world, when we are coming to spiritual life, we'll see so many of the people, so many of the devotees, getting attracted to spirituality. And we'll see some have apparent faults, some have apparent bad nature, you know the qualities which we don't like. One should understand that this is just the matter of time. The power of Krishna consciousness will purify their heart. As Krishna says, as it is described in Bhagavatam also. Pravishta karna randrena swanam bhavasaroruham dhunoti shamalam Krishna salilasya yatha sharat. Just like with the coming of autumnal rains, everything becomes cleansed. Similarly, when we take shelter of spiritual life, when we hear about Krishna, when we hear Bhagavad Gita, when we chant the names of the Lord, slowly our heart gets purified. So when we see other devotees behaving in some weird ways which we don't think good, we should understand that he or she is also going through the process of transformation. And the process of transformation is many times painful. Just like a caterpillar, when it gets transformed into a butterfly, for the caterpillar to come out of the cocoon is not a very pleasant feeling. The caterpillar has to struggle a lot. So in our spiritual life, as we are evolving, getting purified, it will be painful because many times we like our conditionings. So we have to personally work on it. And when we see others going through the same problems, we have to have compassion for them. You know, don't criticize them, don't blame them, don't condemn them, because they are also going through the process of transformation. That's what the spiritual world is. Spiritual world means there is no envy, and that's what we have to cultivate. So Kunti Maharani, she she did not agree, and Pandu, he accepted this. And Kunti, when she spoke such wonderfully, and Pandu, he agreed, and then after that they started living 5 sons. Pandu, he was so very happy. He started training those sons in the Kshatriya qualities. He started training them in all the martial arts, military science. He went with Madri in the forest, and it was a windy atmosphere, and the wind started blowing away the cloths of Madri. The clothes started flowing, and Pandu, when he saw this, he got agitated. He got disturbed. He got started getting lusty desires. He came near Madri. Madri, just by looking at the eyes of Pandu, she could understand. She warned Pandu. She told, she made him remember the curse of Kindam Rishi. But Pandu, he was so much overcome with passion, he could not understand the implications. This is the dangerous situation of one who is overcome by the desires in this world. The person who is overcome by the desire to enjoy, He does not even realize the implications of what will happen if he continues to engage in such type of desires. Therefore, Krishna warns us in Bhagavad Gita about the nature of senses. Yada samharte chayam kurmongani eva sarvasha. That's why Krishna says, become like a tortoise. Don't allow the senses to go out and meditate on sense objects. It is said that in this world, everybody has three wives, males or females both: hunger, thirst, and desire. Hunger and thirst can be satisfied, but the desires, they are such wives, they are never satisfied. The desire is such a chaste wife, sadhavi. Sadhavi means chaste wife. Spiritual life means the art of managing our desires. We have to learn to manage our desires. And the key word is satisfaction. Satisfaction is not an emotion which will come automatically. Satisfaction is a choice which we have to make. We have to choose to be satisfied with whatever we have. Or if we make some decision, I want this, then be satisfied with that. Otherwise, the desires are unlimited. One time there was a king, and he was roaming in his kingdom. He was very happy, although he was very poor, but he was very happy. So king, he started thinking, how can this farmer be so happy although he is such a poor person? He asked his minister. Minister said, my dear king, this person is not a member of 99 club. That's why he is happy. So the king started thinking, what is this 99 club? So this uh, minister, he said, oh king, if you want to know this, you give me 100 gold coins. So king, he got little shocked. He said, okay, anyways, you take 100 gold. So he gave 100 gold coins to this minister. Minister, bag. He took out one coin out of it, and he placed that bag of 99 gold coins on the way of the farmer. Farmer, when he was coming back, himself was looking very attractive, very he found gold coins. He was really amazed, so very happy, elated with the treasury which he has got. He brought that big bag to his home, started counting: 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. No, 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 no. It cannot be 99. It has to be 100. Again he counted. Two times, two times, three times. Then he started thinking, I have to work more to get the 100th one. And from then on, things were not the same. His wife would tell, oh, please give me some gold coins. I want to get some jewelry. I want to get something for my home. He said, nothing doing. You know, I am working so very hard and you are thinking to spend the money? Nothing doing. And he started, chastising wives. He started even beating children if they would spend money. After 1 month, the king again came to this place along with the minister, and he saw the smile was gone. Farmer was looking frustrated. He said, what happened to this person? Minister said, sir, now he has become the member of 99 club. This is the situation of many people in the world. Greed does not allow us to be happy with what we have. Greedy person forgets to use the 99 and runs for the 100th one. Ambitious person, he knows how to use the 99 at the same time going for the 100th one. You know, So we have to understand the best way to avoid sense control is to avoid those places which require sense control. We know that if I go in this situation, I will get disturbed, I'll get attracted, I'll be distracted from the spiritual life. Avoid those places, avoid those people, avoid those situations. Pandu, he got so much overwhelmed, he could not realize, he could not understand the implications. He enjoyed with wife Madri, and as he consummated the act, he felt intense piercing pain in the heart, fell back dead. Madri, she started crying loudly. Kunti, she came running. Madri, she said, "Oh, please don't tell children you come alone." And when Kunti, she saw Pandu, her husband, dead, she understood everything. She told, "Oh, Madri, you already knew the curse, then why you allowed Pandu to do this?" Madri said, "I tried my best, but he didn't listen." Both Madri and Kunti started lamenting, crying over the dead body of their husband. And then Madri, she told, "Please allow me to, rise to the funeral pyre, because I don't want to live and I can't take care of the children as good as you. You are very learned, you are very experienced, you can take care of my children also properly. So you please take care of children and allow me to go with my husband." Kunti, she could not say anything, she was silent. And Madri, she voluntarily entered the fire. And Kunti and all the sons, they were in complete lamentation. Madri, she told Kunti before entering that you please take care of my children, and I know you can take care of them even better than me. Kunti, she followed this promise whole life. In fact, she took more care of Nakul and Sahadev because she knew that they had no mother. Now, here we have to understand this practice of entering into the uh, funeral pyre of husband, which is called sati. This practice has become very controversial in modern times, and it has become all the more distorted, where wives were forced to enter into the funeral pyre of the husband. But actually, we have to understand what was the Vedic culture. This is completely against the Vedic culture of forcing a person to enter into the fire. We heard that actually Madri requested Kunti that please allow me to rise, enter into the funeral pyre, because she considered it a privilege. What was so privileged thing? What makes this a privilege? We have to understand, when we consider things from the bodily point of view, from this life point of view, it will not make sense. But the scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam tells repeatedly that this life is not all in all. After this life, again, we'll have to take birth according to our activities in this life. We have whatever we have performed in this life. So it is described in the Vedic scriptures that when a husband and wife live according to the principles of religion, according to the principles of dharma, then their relationship can even continue beyond this life if Lord desires. For a wife who is devoted to husband, and a husband who is a great spiritual teacher, he himself a follower of religion, he is a devotee, husband also advances, and just by being faithful, just by being chaste, just by being trustworthy, the wife also advances. That was Vedic culture. In Vedic culture, Supreme Lord Krishna, he is considered like an engine, and the husband and every member of the family, for that matter, should be attached to this engine directly or indirectly. So, husband is supposed to be the leader of the family, and he is expected to be a greatest devotee, a follower of religious principles. So, he is connected to Krishna. Wife, by serving the devoted religious husband, she is connected to Krishna. The children, by being connected to mother, they are also connected to Krishna. That is the ideal family life, when ultimately everybody is connected to Krishna. So, in Vedic culture, there is nothing like force for a chaste, devoted, faithful wife. The fire of funeral pyre is more tolerable than the fire of separation from her husband. That's why voluntarily they would enter into the fire, knowing that they would attain the higher destination. And we know, we have heard that, when this Vichitravir was killed, Amba and Ambalika, they were not forced to enter into the fire. We heard, you know. So Madri, she considered this a privilege, and therefore she requested Kunti that you please take care of my children and allow me to enter into the fire. Kunti also wanted, but she had to stay because somebody should be there to take care of the children. Unfortunately, in this world, in today's age, this has become so very distorted. And people, when they see those things, they lose their faith completely in spiritual life. Many times in spiritual life, we do things without knowing the reason, and slowly people get completely deviated from the path. That's what has happened with many of the rituals which are mentioned in the scriptures, because people, they did not understand the mentality, the spirit behind this ritual of sati. They started forcing women to enter into the fire. Spiritual life is not a blind faith. We should have a reasonable faith in the scriptures, and that reasonable faith should be, our foundation. Not whimsical faith, not blind faith, not that, oh, just a cat crosses the road and you don't pass. That is a blind faith. Our faith in God, our faith in scriptures should be based on profound philosophy, based on seeing those people who are following the principles, based on seeing the life of people who are saintly. That gives faith. Just like you go to a doctor, first of all you ask, okay, what is the degree, what is the credential, what is the reputation. Similarly, in spiritual life, we should not follow somebody blindly. We should have a reasonable faith in spiritual life. Anything we do, we should ask why I should do this. And if I get satisfactory answer, and if we get satisfactory answer, then you should ask how to do it. If we do things without knowing the purpose behind it, we will not get the benefit, will not get the expected result. And that's what has happened many times. That's why people of this world, they don't want to follow spiritual life, because they think it is all whimsical, it is all blind faith. But spirituality is a refined science. Therefore, Sati, this Madri, she entered the fire, and Kunti, she stayed back. When the sages who had come for the funeral ceremony of Pandu, they decided, now we have to take Kunti to Hastinapur. So Kunti and the five sons, Yudhishthir, Bhima, Arjun, Nakula, Sahadev, they all returned to the palace. When citizens they saw these children for the first time, they were amazed. They were amazed by seeing the effulgence, seeing just by looking at them. Although they were children, just by looking at them, they could understand they are very powerful, they are very heroic, and they all felt so very happy because they were thinking, oh, these people, Yudhishthir will become the king, kingdom will flourish, the principles of religion will flourish. And in this way, Kunti started living in the palace along with her 5 children. So we'll stop here. We'll continue with what happened after Kunti started living in the palace. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. This this has been a very enlightening session, especially keeping in mind that we have Women's International Day coming up. So you are discussing, because we have very dogmatic views on about our own culture as to what our culture teaches, what is the position of women, and you are clearly, with the whole story of Kunti Maharani, or you are explaining it to us that how powerful and independent. There was interdependence, but there is no, which is a natural way of living for all of us. But it wasn't that they were considered to be weak and like a doormat. This is the something which most of us feel, that this is how the. So I had you spoke very beautifully. One of the things which you spoke was that uh, foundation of envy in this world is due to that everything is very limited in this world, in the material world, and in the spiritual world everything is unlimited. So understanding that, but still we face envy, knowing that this is not something which we would like to experience in our hearts, but envy is something which is present, maybe not for everything, maybe we all are not like, but some of the things which are very close to our heart. So maybe if we are talking about women at this point of time specifically, maybe their culinary skills, the way they keep their house, or even the way they look or they dress up, or their pride lies in their children or their
Adi, your voice, Adi,
any
your
voice.
voice was breaking. Can you please repeat?
Yeah, so I was saying probably like
Last few sentences I missed.
yes. So I was mentioning that the women, if we are speaking specifically of women and in connection to envy, maybe not in everything, it's there for all of us. Wherever our pride lies, that's where the envy comes in. So is there some specific way we can deal with it, living in this material world, to deal with this envy of our heart, and that we can rise above this situation and not feel the pain? And it's very painful for us also when we experience envy, knowing that this is a emotion which takes us further away from Krishna. So if you could
Yeah. So
elaborate on
yes, yes, very rightly mentioned that in this world, what not only to speak about women, it is there in with everybody. Whatever skills we have, a singer will never be envious of a person who can cook better. You know, a speaker will never be envious of a singer. But if there are two people who can do the same thing good, then the envy comes, because naturally, as we discussed that, you know people, they are so very you know interested in getting more and more recognition, more and more respect, and that is the underlying emotion of envy, that I need more attention. I need more respect, I need more glorification. And when we don't get it, then we become envious. So, but when we see the scriptures and the saintly personalities and the teachings, we understand that these feelings of getting more and more respect, more and more attention, people think that if I'll express myself, if I'll make myself more, uh, if I'll glorify my own self, and if I'll put others down, then I will get the respect. I will get the attention. People will love me. People will appreciate me. Many times, when we try to put ourselves in front, actually, people they don't appreciate us with their heart. They may say nice words, but in their hearts of hearts, we will in their hearts of hearts they will say, oh, I desire that this personality does not get the respect which he is getting. you know so therefore the underlying principle, when people they envy others and they want to put others ahead, put themselves ahead, that they want to be respected, they want to be loved. Because getting love, getting respect is innate quality of everybody of us. But when we start looking for respect and love in from the people of the world, then we start becoming envious. Because people of the world, because they themselves have these qualities of envy, they cannot give genuine love, genuine respect. They may appreciate, but genuine appreciation does not come. Many times it is just the lip service. So when we learn from scriptures that actually when we connect to God, when we connect to saintly people, when we connect to scriptures, then we actually learn how to not hanker for respect. This is a great burden, to be respected always, to be praised, to be honored. If we are not honored, if we are not praised, it is a great burden. People they are hankering for it, and they do anything for it. That is the burden which people are carrying. We cannot just even imagine the relief one gets when this burden of not getting respected, you know this burden of getting respected is removed from the heart and the mind. So of course, this is a lot, not a easy way, this is not a one day's job, but we have to struggle for it. We have to work on it, otherwise it will not come automatically. The desires, the envy will not go automatically, because this is the important thing. This is the basic foundational thing which has brought us in this world, and it ultimately goes up to the Lord. Envy is the supreme Lord. That's why we are here. So of course, when we are doing good, we will get recognition, we will get respect, we will get fame. But the problem comes when we start expecting more and more. There is no problem in receiving respect if somebody is giving automatically. But the problem comes when we start expecting respect. We should accept the respect, but we should not expect the respect. You know, if somebody is appreciating us, glorifying us, okay, be grateful, thank him, and don't keep it with yourself. Just try to convey that glory to the superior authorities, to Krishna ultimately. In that way, slowly our envy will get subdued and get purified in due course. Otherwise, there is no limit to fame and recognition and respect in this world. Up to the Hiranyakashipu, the scriptures they describe about the great demon Hiranyakashipu. What type of respect he had? what type of glory he had, what type of fame he had, what type of power he had. Unimaginable, you know. None of the people of the world now can acquire these quality, these this level. He was such a powerful personality. Devatas would tremble in fear if you would just raise his eyebrows. If we raise our eyebrows, you know, people will say, you know, why are you raising your eyebrows? You know, what do you think you are? Nothing will happen. But when Hiranyakashipu, he would raise his eyebrows, Devatas would tremble in fear. But still, he was unsatisfied. Saitam nirjit kako bekarat vishayan priyan yathopajosham bhunjano natripyat ajitendriyah. So Bhagavatam very clearly describes the underlying mentality. What keeps a person unsatisfied? What makes a person envious? The desire to have more and more makes a person more and more envious. And if the senses are not controlled, we can never be satisfied. You know. So that's what we have to work on. Start getting connected to the spiritual life, learn from the saintly personalities, understand that we are actually not any great personality. There are many great personalities in the universe. And the more we hanker for recognition, the more we are envious. We are like burning ourselves. It is like holding a charcoal in our hand. We are burning ourselves, you know. So we have to just let go of the expectation to get more and more fame. It is actually very difficult, you know. I can say, you know, because I'm not saying I'm all on that level, but at least that's what we have seen. People, the great personalities who are free from envy, they they emanate a peace. Just by being near them, you feel peaceful, you know. And that's what we have to aspire for. Ultimately, everybody wants peaceful, and everybody wants to be peaceful in life. And that is a process of connecting to the God, connecting to this process of meditation. That helps. Okay, okay, lots can be said. Okay, I think this is it.
Thank you, Prabhuji. This is very beautifully explained. And also, Prabhuji, there is a statement which you made that regarding the speech being Satyam and Priyam.
Yeah,
So it should be truthful and pleasing. So this is something sometimes could be contradictory at times. You know, when you are speaking the truth, not necessarily it might be pleasing to the person. Of course, it can be depending upon, but there are certain truths which are not so pleasing.
true. So I'll tell you an incident from Mahabharata. Uh, when after the war was over, and Vidura, the brother of Dhritarashtra, he was a well-wisher of Dhritarashtra. So he came back after the war is over. Pandavas were ruling. Yudhishthir was the king. Vidura comes back because he was thinking about his brother. He was thinking, oh, my brother is still living in this palace. He is living in the house. He is living with Pandavas, and he tried to kill Pandavas. He tried to get their kingdom, and now he is shamelessly living under them. So he wanted to do some welfare to his brother. So he came back, and Yudhishthir Maharaj, he welcomed Vidura very nicely. And Vidura, he knew that. So Yudhishthir, he asked about his welfare. He asked about the welfare of Krishna, welfare of the family of Krishna, the entire Yadu dynasty. By that time, actually, Krishna and the Yadu dynasty had departed already from this world. Interestingly, Vidura, when he heard this question, he he told so many things about where all he went, who all he met, what were the instructions from the great sages he heard. He told everything to Yudhishthir, but purposefully he did not mention about the disappearance of Krishna. This is called sensitivity. Anudveg karam vakyam. It was truth, but Vidura was very, very sensitive. Many times, we become so very eager to give the information that we don't realize how this will affect people. You know, anyways, in due course of time, Yudhishthir will get the news of Krishna's departure. Why should I become the messenger of this bad news? And many times, people, when they speak some harsh news, sad news, they are so very sadistic. They get the pleasure seeing others suffering. When we know the truth, we should try to speak the truth in a way which is palatable, which can be digested, which can give some benefit to other person. Otherwise, what is the use of speaking a truth? Better to be silent or speak in a way that will help the personality. Just giving some information and troubling people is not going to help anybody. On the contrary, it disturbs the mind of people. It makes them restless and agitated more and more. So, therefore, the speech, it is said that the wounds created by swords can get healed in few days, but the wounds which are created by the words may take years to heal. So, therefore, we have to be really careful what type of language we speak, what words we are using. We may be speaking the truth, but if we are not using the right words, then it is actually violence. You know, as it is said, even if you say the right words, if you don't say it rightly, you are still wrong. You know, so you may know the right, you may know the truth, but if you are not conveying the message properly, then there is no benefit you are doing to others. So therefore, the speech should be pleasing. Charu chitrapadam slakshnam mishtam gudham aviklavam. These are the qualities of speech. It is described in Bhagavatam. Charu means pleasing. It should be pleasing. Chitrapadam. Chitrapadam means when the speech is decorated with some metaphor, some simile, it looks very attractive. Slakshnam, it should be precise. Don't beat around the bush. If you want to convey the truth, speak in a precise way which is pleasing. Charu chitrapadam slakshnam mrishtam gudham aviklavam. Aviklavam means it should not create anxiety in the minds of others. So that is what is truth. So we should learn to speak truth. That is a quality we have to develop. But we should know when to speak the truth, how to speak the truth, and that is the art we have to learn personally. you know if we keep in mind the welfare of others, naturally we'll speak words which are beneficial for them. But if we are thinking just to have some fun, just to give some trouble to others, then we'll speak harshly. So, a affectionate person can never speak truth which will trouble others. And that is what is Sarva Bhuta Hiterataha. That is what is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, right? Living in a family, whole world. To make whole world as a family means to care about others. We may not care about others personally, physically, but at least we have control over our speech. That's how we can begin with. you know so that is what is the understanding. Okay.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Does anybody else have a question which we can take up? If Prabhuji, it's okay with you?
Yeah, we can take one more.
Is there anybody who has any question which they would like to ask? I think Prabhuji, you've made everybody very satisfied, and it was an amazing session.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for being
Thank you
here.
very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.